Right.
And right when I was talking to him, the sheriff pulled up. And he had his gun in his hand. We got you now. And I said, oh, hell no. I took off running. And I ran, and he jumped out the car. And then I ran down behind the building because they had to call for more, so they just couldn't run behind me. I ran down behind the building, ran across the field, and within minutes, the firemen, the white folks, the posses were coming, and they surrounded the place, and I was out in the field, and I was out there running for my life. And then I heard a voice of a woman say, hey, come in here.
Willie Ricks, also known as Mukasa, was a prominent civil rights activist and community organizer, a true leader in the struggle for equal rights in the United States. Mukasa first gained recognition for his work alongside John Lewis. He was a field secretary for SNCC. With SNCC, he actively planned and organized sit-ins, marches, and public demonstrations throughout Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, and Mississippi. Eventually, he had an ideological split from SNCC, and Willie Ricks became Mukasa. He became an active member of the Black Panther Party, and along with friend and colleague Stokely Carmichael, he helped popularize the slogan, Black Power.
All right, you're here with King Groom. This is part of the Voodoo Man Series. We got Mukasa with us. So if you would like to, what brought you to Jersey today? What kind of event? Just give an overview of what brought you to Rutgers. I heard you spoke with some kids earlier. How'd that go?
I came to New Jersey to speak at a college to some high school students, and I spoke to some high school students. Half of them were Africans, and the other half were native people of this land. And I enjoyed them. They enjoyed, and we were able to learn a lot from each other.
Yeah, I heard you earlier saying that you got a lot more soldiers from those students.
Yeah, because they got involved in it, and we talked about that this land belonged to them, and talked about their ancestors and the original names of their ancestors that was on this land before Columbus came, and they appreciated that. And we talked to the Africans about Africa and African history and the fact that we had great kingdoms in Africa, and they stole our land and stole us on slave ships and brought us here, and that we were able to connect the fact that many Africans left, ran away from the plantations and went to the native plantations and lived as native and fought and got their freedom on the plantation.
Now, let me ask you, what do you think about high school education as is, especially for African and Native peoples, and how do you think that the education system has done a disservice to us?
Because it's been a miseducation system, and they just train the slaves to do and think what they want them to think, and train them to serve the white slave master, and train them to basically be slaves. So it's a miseducation system, teaching them about white people, teaching them about colonialism and imperialism, and teaching them that the things are good is bad, and the things that was bad was good. So all the things that they teach us and have done to us is bad, but yet they try to teach us that it's good. So we need our own education, not get colonial white racist education.
That leads me to my next question. Where do we start? Where do we start with teaching? Well, what age do you think we should begin to teach our children that the true history of ourselves?
Before they're born, and when they're in the stomach,
right?
And they should come out saying, "Black Power, we Africans, Africa's my land," and they should come out speaking Mandingo and Yoruba and other languages, and come out living and thinking as Africans, and not come out thinking and getting the European backwardsness and craziness that we get today. So we need to learn about ourselves.
When did you decide to do a journey of self-discovery? Because you went by Willie Ricks for a long time. What caused that awakening?
Well, my parents grew up on Ricks, the area called Ricks, Alabama. Picked cotton for white people. All the white people named Ricks, all the black people named Ricks, and what have you. And then history got me involved in the civil rights movement, and one day I started protesting, demonstrating, and found myself involved in that, and that I continued. And as we fought for a hamburger and fought to go in the front doors and stuff like that, we began to see that the picture was much greater. We began to see that we come from Africa, that Africa was our land. We have a culture, a language, a history. We even have our own gods in Africa, and Yoruba and Voodoo and Hoodoo and all them other dudes, but it wasn't Christianity and it wasn't Islam. And that just by being involved, all of this history and talking to people in the streets and everywhere, they began to talk about that you are African, you have a land, you have a culture, you have an identity, and I've just learned from so many people like you.
Yeah, well, that's a big journey of self-discovery, and that's kind of what we're talking about here is trying to find our way back to that rich cultural history that we have. I want to talk briefly about what you think the successes of the civil rights movement, where you think it fell apart, where do you think we went wrong from that time period?
Well, Malcolm explained that when you're talking about civil rights, you're talking about rights within the confine of a nation, and you're fighting for that nation to give you some civil rights and give you some rights, and all those rights coming from where the people you beg and they give you some civil rights, and that this country gave us nothing. And that Malcolm said we're fighting a human rights struggle, and that we are Africans, and our human rights are being violated when they stole our diamonds, gold, oil, rubber, zinc, tea, copper, pearl, cobalt, manganese, when they destroyed our great kingdom, Ghana, Mali, Songhay, and 1,000 others, when they took our gods away from us and forced their gods on us, cut our tongues out and made us speak English, French, German, and white folks' languages. That's a violation of our human rights. And so when they robbed us of our human rights and our human dignity, robbed us of our land, robbed us of our culture, robbed us of our dignity, robbed us of our gods, our African rights, our rights as a human being has been violated, and we don't want no rights under Europe, France, Britain, Germany, and especially the United States. Damn some civil rights. We want our human rights. We want black power. We want a land and a nation of our own, like Marcus Garvey talked about.
Mm-hmm. So that leads me to ask you, what do you feel about the Black Lives Matter movement? How do you feel about that movement online? Because I personally feel like it hasn't materialized into an agenda, but it is a powerful statement to claim that your life matters when for so long history shows that it hasn't. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that struggle and that new movement that's arising.
Well, Black Lives Matter remind me of when the city-in movement started, the so-called civil rights movement started. Mm-hmm. All the young people went out and started going to, first they went at A&T and sit down at a white lunch counter, and when they put these kids in jail, it spread it like wildfire, and then all the kids started going everywhere, high school, college kids, and they just started going in these white places, sitting down in the front, just sitting on the front of the bus and just doing things. And that it was just a spontaneous movement, and this movement just kept spreading like wildfire. And it was a lady named Ella Baker that called all the students together and asked Dr. King to pay for these kids to come together at Charlotte, North Carolina in 1961, and pulled us all together. And Ella Baker came and said, y'all youth need to get organized. And we came to the conference, and Dr. King paid for it. He wanted us to be a youth group under him. And Ella Baker said, no, y'all don't want to be under these preachers. Y'all want your own group. And we formed the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So all these spontaneous groups that was coming together now form an organization called SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And then we became a stronger force. And so I see Black Lives Matter at some point. They would be, history would force them to come together, form an organization, and from forming an organization, they began to encouraged to read books, study revolution, and study groups like Marcus Garvey and Kwame Nkrumah and the Ho Chi Minh and North Korea. Get them a nuclear bomb one day when they get organized, and they'll know what to do. And they're just a spontaneous group, but now they got to study revolution and understand what they're fighting for and what they're fighting against. And they would see, like, for example, I used to think it was just a sheriff with a white man and a white man there, but we see it's something much bigger. Its capitalist system itself is rotten to the core and committing crimes against humanity. The birth of the United States government represent that of colonialism and imperialism, represent the death and destruction of thousands and millions and hundreds of millions of people. And France, United States, Britain, well, just Europe itself have committed crimes, and Du Bois said that we would never be free until the death and the destruction of the United States and the destruction of Europe, and that Black Lives Matter would be educated into that position. Matter of fact, when we were just young kids coming together, Malcolm used to tell us that we were his children, and that we were just in school now, but we will graduate to see the revolution that he was talking about, and many of us did graduate to see exactly what Malcolm was talking about, because it was Malcolm, when we were in the civil rights movement, Malcolm was pointing us to Africa. Malcolm was telling us, you can't understand what's going on. When we were being bombed and shot and killed in Mississippi and Birmingham and Montgomery, Malcolm was telling us then, you got to understand what's going on in the Congo in order to understand what's going on in Montgomery. You got to understand what's going on in South Africa, and if you're going to understand what's going on in Mississippi, you got to understand what's going on in the rest of the world, and then you can see your position where you are today. So when we began to look at the world and look at Africa and look at what they were doing around the world, and now we began to see that we were dealing with a larger and a bigger monster than what you could ever imagine, and we began to move from trying to change it from just appearing to these people, letting them pass laws and all that, to the point that we wanted to join revolutionary forces in the world and get ideas from people like Marcus Garvey, and get ideas from these kind of people and make revolution. And a revolution, Malcolm said, he taught us the revolution won't land, revolution won't nation. And that's what we're talking about. Malcolm said integration and all that. There ain't no nation. You want a nation. You want your own land, your own country, your own army, your own government, if you really want to be free. And so when we talk about freedom, we're not talking about no civil rights, the slave master giving you a penny or giving you a crumb or passing a damn bill and all that. Damn that. We want everything that's been robbed and stole from us. We want our land. We want our nation. We want to build our own army and crush the system that oppress us and unite our African people. Matter of fact, Malcolm even pointed out, or Kwame, all of us, pointed out that we've been scattered all over the world on slave ship. Might be a 500 million people in the Caribbean and South and Central America, Brazil. We in Europe, we in the United States, a few here, but we are in South and Central America. We in Africa, and Marcus Garvey and Du Bois talked about pulling these groups together, and they called it Pan-Africanism. And that we want Pan-Africanism. We want to create a thought pattern idea where we can all begin to think together. Some people call it ideology and what have you, but we want to begin to think together as an African people and begin to fight for the liberation of ourselves. And many forces feel, or African people feel, that we liberate Africa, and that would be our base for liberation, and we can solve and work on the problem of African people worldwide. But we need to solve our own problem, and we need to crush the enemies of Africa and not beg our slave master to do for us. They're already doing to us, and how you gonna beg the ones that's killing you, robbing you, murdering you, raping you to do good to you? That ain't gonna happen, Democrat or Republican or the United States or Europe.
That, I think what you talked about with the awakening of a larger structure and not being, a person here, a person there. I think that's
organization.
being a global organization. I think that's coming to the consciousness of a lot more young people recently with obviously with the election of Trump and all the things that he's been doing and all the people that have been there that we heard about. Because when we came up, my generation came up in an era where a lot of racism was more concealed. It wasn't out in the open. So we actually bought into the idea that there was progress being made, that we had, you guys had fought and you guys did win some battles, but we thought there was more progress made than there actually was. And now we're looking at the world and we're starting to realize that this is a much larger battle. And I want to know what led you to that awakening. What was the moment you realized, like, wow? Because I know a lot of people, when they looked at the election, the next day they woke up and said, wow, this country is not what I thought it was.
Well, I don't blame Donald Trump, not at all. I blame the American government. I blame imperialism. I blame capitalism. I blame the Democrats. I blame the Republicans. And they all are equal. All of them want white power. All of them raping and robbing Africa. And the raping and robbing of Africa didn't just start with this election. They've been doing it for 500 years or 1,000 years, raping and robbing the diamonds, the gold, the rubber, the zinc, the copper, the pearl, the cobalt, and all the richness of Africa is being taken out, and the Africans are being killed, murdered, and genocide is being waged on Africa wherever they are in the world. And just the more you speak out and demonstrate, you begin to see it worldwide. And it's just, there have been so many people, all my friends, matter of fact, have gone to their grave, standing out there preaching and speaking and pointing this out to the people, that we're being raped, we're being robbed, you're a slave, and pointing this out and just working on it. From Marcus Garvey to Kwame Ture to Rap Brown, who lie in their jails and prisons right now, to Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Toure and millions of others that we don't even know their name. They've been giving their lives all day and all night, telling people, look what's happening to your people. Look at Africa. Look at how hungry you are and how poor you are. You come from the richest land in the world. You don't even have food to eat. You don't have a toilet to go to. You don't have clean water because you're being raped by the Gulf Oil, by SEALs, by all the big companies in the United States and in the world. All of them are raping you. The whole world is on your welfare. Everybody come to Africa to get the materials that it takes to run their products and give them a decent lives in the countries that they live in, give them fine cars, give them cameras and cell phones and electronics and all that. They come to Africa and get it and leave the Africans starving. And that the whole world, we've been pointing that out and people have been preaching. So it just didn't come through no election and all that. It come through the work of Nat Turner. It come through the work of Marcus Garvey and the thousands all over the world, names that we don't even know and never will know, who have given their lives and worked daily telling our people, you are African, you belong to Africa, you'll never be free until Africa is free, and pointing to all the enemies of Africa and fighting them the best way they could. So we have so many brothers and sisters that have children and that have given their lives and continue to struggle for the liberation of our people. There are many people continue to tell us the liberation and unification of Africa under socialism will be the only way that you will ever be free.
It's very powerful. It's really, really powerful stuff. I want to ask you, because you mentioned it earlier, about Christianity not being a natural African religion. Do you think that plays any part into the position we're in now? That so many, the position of the black church, the position of religion being, because I know if Haiti freed itself when they
using that good old voodoo. Yeah, I don't know much about voodoo, but when I learned about the Haitian Revolution and they fighting with that voodoo against the French imperialists and kicking their ass, kicking their butt, I said, I'm voodoo too. So I've been voodoo ever since. I'm voodoo, hoodoo, Mandingo, how you say, Yoruba, and everything that's African, even if I don't know about it. Can't say it, can't even remember it, but that's me. And that all those folks that come to Africa with their Islam and rape, rob, and steal our land and force other cultures and language and religions on somebody, how in the hell and the Europeans come with Jesus in the Bible, the slave ship named Jesus, and they come with Jesus in the Bible, and they steal, rape, rob, murder, kill us in the mass, and then cut our tongues out, we speak our language, and then force their religion on us, force their white gods on us, and all that bull, and everybody else for it, and they shit, and here we are, have God for anybody else, talk the world about God, talk the world about the word monotheism, and this one big God, and all that, and everybody else cop it off of it, and then go make up them some shit, and bring it back and force it on us, kill us, murder us, and everybody that force their religion on us, steal our land, steal our culture, steal everything, and rape and rob and murder us and stand on top of us. We don't need nobody else's religion. We don't need nobody else's language. We don't need nobody else's culture. Yoruba is good enough for me. Mandingo is good enough for me. How you say, voodoo is good enough for me. But Africa, whatever came out of Africa, whatever come out the trees and out the roots and out the dirt and out the land, it's good enough for me.
I'm with that.
Black power.
Black power, there it is. All right, so I got just a couple more questions. What do you think we need to do right now today to help our people in this land? I'm a big proponent of financial power. I think we need to get our finances together and start spending the black dollar amongst our own community.
Or do like the Irish Republican, they robbed all the banks and financed their revolution. I ain't got no problem with that, but Gaddafi was printing African money. We need to print our own money, have our own banks, have our own everything, because as long as you're spending somebody else's money, and they're going to have you enslaved. And Rap Brown say if you get too much of somebody else's money, they'll change the color of it and tell you it ain't no more good. So it ain't about getting some white folks money. It's about getting Africa, getting our land, and we take Africa, we will have all the riches in the world that everybody needs. We got it, it's there, and Africa, everybody in the world, every country in the world is on Africa's welfare. We feeding the whole world. Every factory's run off the back of Africa. Our labor, our everything, they run off the back of Africa, and our fight is for Africa. Ain't nothing in the United States we need to, I agree with Du Bois, destroy it. Burn it down. It's got to go. It's criminal. And that our fight is for Africa. And Africa will solve every problem that we have in the world. And I'm never talking about so-called black folks in the United States. I'm talking about Africans all over the world. All over the world, and we must always speak in our African contents, and we must include every African in the world, because the solution lies in all of us, in whether you in Colombia, whether you in Cuba, whether you in Africa, whether you in Europe, but the solution lies in the total liberation and unification of Africa under socialism. Socialism, communism, an economic system where everybody get everything, take everything the rich folk got, strip them naked, and everybody eat the same good food, build houses, education, medical, like they did in Cuba, and look at the Chinese and how they running their government, running their nation. Look at North Korea, put nuclear bombs on all our corners, all over Africa, make sure don't nobody come in there messing with us, and defend our people and be able to defend Africa. But our fight is for Africa, and nothing the United States and the slave master can give you, say to you, it's nothing they can do. They're the robbers and the rapists. Who go to the rapists and ask the rapist to hit me easy, just hunch me a little easy, next time you rape me? No, you cut his penis off, you cut his neck off, you destroy him, you destroy the nation that bring bombs and starvation and you destroy it, and that's what you have to do. And we have to get organized and organize a worldwide army of people, a worldwide organization. But meanwhile, wherever we are, we got to organize, we got to teach, we got to show love, spread love. But the real solution is Pan-Africanism. The real solution is the liberation of our people. Like the Chinese, they didn't get free until they took China back. They had to take China. Vietnam, they had to take Vietnam. And we have to take Africa. And that we are not part of these people, we're not part of this system, we are victims of it. And I don't want nothing from them. I mean, you know, a little crumb here, a little crumb there, that ain't no freedom. Freedom is when you have your own land and you're able to defend it and protect it. And then we want to, how you say, Fidel Castro, our great leader, my God, Fidel, that's my God, and Che Guevara and those brothers. There's so many of them, Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Lumumba, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer. Yeah, I believe in God. These are the real gods, you know, the ones that tried to kill the slave master and fight him any way they could. These are real people. These are real representatives. So I'm saying that to say that we need our own land, we need our own country, and that I'm saying that the Europeans, going back to your Christian question, the Europeans have used Christianity and to enslave the world. And everywhere they have spread the Christianity, everywhere that people had come to believe it in any form or fashion, they have killed them, murdered them, and stole their land and put them in slavery. We need our own. Now, we practice these religions, those of us who practice Islam, Christianity, and any other religion, we got to be revolutionaries and fight for Africa. Like Kwame Nkrumah practiced Christianity, but he fought for Pan-Africanism and fought for Africa. Sekou Touré was a Muslim, but he fought for Pan-Africanism and fought for the liberation and the unification of Africa. Du Bois was an atheist, but he fought for the liberation and unification of Africa. And so all of us have to fight for the unification and the liberation of Africa, and whatever culture or foreign culture that we have on our land or have among us, as Africa gets stronger, these foreign cultures and religions will begin to disappear. We begin to say, we don't want them, we don't need them, we already got what we need. So voodoo is good enough for me, brother. Yoruba is good enough for me, and all these other religions that I don't know the name of, but they good enough for me. The African languages are good enough for me, and what have you.
So being an African in America.
Being an African, we're Africans. When you say America, you mean all the Caribbeans, you know, all that's in America.
all those different cultures, all those different. What can we do to unite that consciousness? What can we do? What culturally can we do to awaken people? And because, you know, you have people that will say they're from the Caribbean islands and not say they're African, or black people in America who don't know where they're from and don't want to say, or don't even want to look into where their history is.
Well, we just go and stop that confusion. I've just left Cuba and all that kind of stuff. You know, we would say, hey, you African, you African, you African, and just spreading Africa, Jamaica, wherever you are, just in Jamaica, and they're all screaming Africa, 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 and then we just go and say, we Africans, we Africans, we Africans, we Africans, we Africans, because the white man went over there. If you go down through the Caribbean, it might be 1,000 countries down there, and everywhere the white man go, he changed the name to it and just give you 1,000 different names. But even though if you go back, you look, you got the same grandmama, same granddaddy, same roots, same ancestors, but yet all you call yourself all these different names, and he play you up against you with these different names, different whatever. And we just have to say, stop the nonsense. We are African people. We belong to we ain't black. Black ain't represent damn thing. Ain't anything is black. We know it ain't no land, it ain't no culture, it ain't no language. We are Africans, and that's where our roots are, and we liberate Africa. And whether if you were carried to the Caribbean, all the people in the Caribbean and Colombia and all that kind of stuff, I don't give a damn what you call you. You're African, and you'll never be truly free until Africa's free. And that we have to fight for that land, fight for Africa, and fight to our people to have the same identity. And once we get a strong Africa, I mean, a powerful Africa like North Korea and like China, once we're strong and we can get some of these forces off our heads and Africa can stand with dignity, there would be many people that's calling themselves other things other than Africa, but they gonna scream out, I'm African, I'm African. We're gonna say, you're sure? Yeah, I'm African. They're gonna be glad to be African. And right now, Africa is beat down and hungry and starving and everybody, don't nobody want to identify with it because it just show and make it look so bad. So we call ourselves everything but African. But when Africa get its personality, the whole world will want to be African. People that don't even look like us gonna be claiming Africa.
Well, they already do that.
Yeah, but ain't nobody gonna respect us until we have a strong nation
Right.
with young men sitting there with their hands on the nuclear bomb, pointing at Europe and everywhere else where people mess with us. And y'all let me put my fingers on it, And we be standing there with our nuclear bomb protecting Africa. People got nuclear bomb because they love their people.
I hear a lot of talk about gun violence in America, and I always thought the solution to that would be if black men just started enrolling to get guns, like the Black Panthers did.
Well, I was one of the people who started the Black Panthers, and we went out there and we confronted them with guns and all that, and I ain't got no problem with that part neither, but I think we need to get organized and put together a worldwide African army and begin to fight. And that we gonna have to fight. I ain't got no problem with that now, not at all. But when we fight, I want to be ready.
Right.
And therefore, we need to form organization. We need to form political parties. We need to create 10,000 different little schools under trees, on basketball courts, in your living room, whatever, and begin to talk ideological and right ideals about African culture and history, and teach our people to love themselves, love their hair, love their lips, their nose, love Africa, and love their history and all that. And we tell them all the good things about Africa, so many and so many thousands, where we can bring our people together. Right now, the enemy is teaching them to hate themselves and putting the guns out there for them to shoot each other, and they shooting us to put fear in us, to make us scared of them, and all that. This is all over the world, and that it's a worldwide problem, and that, we're going to have to fight, but I want to be well organized and ready to fight when we're going to have to fight. Like the Cuban Revolution is a great revolution, and they had to go and spread and get among the people. And now another thing is important. We got to win our minds back from our enemy. Our enemy has completely stole the brain, the minds of our people, and we got to bring the minds back toward Africa, minds back toward loving and caring for each other and caring for your land and your culture and your roots and your foreparents and all that. We have to bring them back, and that means that we need to put teachers in every corner, in every alley, teaching and guiding and loving our people. We're going to have to sacrifice for our people. We're going to have to go out and grow some potatoes and dig some holes and do all kinds of things, clean some water and put some whatever, teach our people and show them, and we got to do the things that show love for our people. So all of us going to have to make grave sacrifices for that. I've been doing this probably almost 60 years now, and that it's just learning that hopefully young men like you will come now and bring new ideas, new philosophies, and you'll be able to build on what we have done over the SNCC and then the UNIA and Kwame Nkrumah's organization, the APRP, whatever these organizations are. All of us have tried, and we're searching for the right way. But y'all, the young people, and through your rapping and however you do it, you must educate people and preach revolution and say what Marcus Garvey and say what Kwame Nkrumah and Mao Zedong and all that you put in the language, in the rhythms of rap, whatever you want to call it. You put it in the language where it will go into the heads of the people. Now back in the 60s, we used to sing songs, and they were educational, and they educated our people. I ain't scared of nobody, cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I ain't scared of your dogs, cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. And people who sung that song, they weren't scared of the dogs. And that we would put African songs, black songs in it. And then one day we started saying, we are the children of Africa. We work and fight for our Africa. We are the children. We are the children. We are the children of Africa. So we went around neighborhood teaching them children's song, all children sung song. They realized they're African.
They're African.
And then we teach children, we teach we ugly, we this and that, and we teach it, I am black and I have beauty. What a rare thing am I. To have curls like a lamb, to be black and beautiful. And we go and teach these songs to little children. We even put in there, parents, check my history. It is filled with lots of goodies to be black and beautiful. And we have children saying them little songs all over, going to schools and wherever. But the songs educate people.
Right.
And rapping can educate people too.
Exactly.
And that's why we have to use it as a weapon. We
Right.
have to put that weapon of history in the so-called rap. And that you can either sing dumb songs or you can sing songs that will educate of history. You can sing songs of revolution. You can rap a revolution, even making a speech. You make a dumb speech or you make speech of revolution like Kwame used to do. Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Lumumba, speeches that inspire people for thousands of years to come. And rap can do the same thing. Any song, the good songs can do the same thing. And that's what we have to do. We have to make everything we do revolutionary.
It's crazy. You read my mind. That was my next question. He just went right to it. That was crazy. Because I was going to ask him about hip hop. You know, that's what I do. I make music. So, but you answered it perfectly.
Make
so.
revolutionary music.
Make
Don't just make
revolutionary music,
hip hop music. Make
Right.
revolutionary hip hop music. Like
Right.
some boys came to me one day and said, "We want to learn about Africa. We want to be rapper. We want to learn about Africa." And these guys was called what was their name? Called Dead Prayers. You heard of them?
Yeah.
And we took Dead Prayers. Them they didn't know how to spell Africa. Didn't even know how to say it. We took them down through there and we started talking to them and took them down through Florida, hung out with old Marley and all them, and we started teaching them about. And they started being around us, learning about Africa, and they learn it, and now they go out and they be rapping Africa.
Yeah, revolutionary rap right there.
I raised them boys, all of them,
Yeah.
and put them out there to do it. Matter of fact, and we have sent thousands of other people to sing, speak, and write papers and do all kind of other stuff. The movement, we've been working over for years and years and years. And before I even thought about it, Du Bois were doing it, Marcus Garvey, and Kwame Nkrumah. It's thousands all over the world. And we studied the work and efforts of men like Fidel Castro and Che Guevara and Lumumba and all that. We have to look at all of them, and we're beginning to see the picture, and we'll have something to rap about. And that's why we need to get these kids to go to different countries and go to the movements and look at them, and then come back and rap about it and sing about it, and you change by people by that information and that kind of thing going in their head. You're planting seeds, even if they don't know it. If they saying, "We are the children of Africa," just by they sung it, now the seeds planted in their head, and one day they're gonna be talking and say, they might even be thinking about it. I'm African, I'm children of Africa. You just keep planting the seed. That's why Coca-Cola put that sign up there. Have a Coke.
Right.
They brainwash. You might not even think you saw it, but it's there.
Right.
That's why that's that NASDAQ flag right there. Making me sick in the stomach. Look at her. You know, look out there. Ooh, that's the imperialist working right there, trying to keep me from thinking about Africa. Make sure we stop by there and burn the flag, all right?
Well, I'd like to thank you for your time. I learned a lot. You did drop now. He said, when I started the interview, I was like, man, you're going to drop some knowledge on me. He said, I don't got no knowledge. But y'all saw a wealth of knowledge here. That's why it's important to talk to those who fought the struggle before you and to honor them. So thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking.
I just want to say that I just said what I heard. SNCC taught me, SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Some things I heard Malcolm X say, and Du Bois and Marcus Garvey and Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, and all these kind of people, and the thousands of them, the names that I'm not even naming or can't remember. and that I'm just saying what I heard them say. It didn't originate nothing, didn't start nothing, and that we just carried it on. They put through the struggle and through the bloodshed and through the history of our roots, they put black power in our soul, in our mouth, in our minds, and in our fists. They put in our minds that we have to work for the liberation of Africa. They put in our minds we have to pick up our weapons and fight like they did in Guinea-Bissau. Amilcar Cabral, like Samora Machel in Mozambique, Augusta Neto in the revolution in Angola, the PAC and the Subukwe and those down in South Africa, Robert Mugabe and those in Zimbabwe, and the thousands of other freedom fighters like down in Haiti, the Cuban Revolution, Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, and Nicaragua, the Sandinista, and there's been so many thousands of them, and they're being born every day, and many of them are our ancestors, but they're inspiring us from the grave, and that we will continue to listen to them. And Marcus Garvey said all our soldiers, our ancestors, will rise up in the colors of red, black, and green and fight for the liberation of Africa. And I'm just glad to be a part of that. And everything I said, I just come to say a little bit of all of them. It ain't coming from me, but it's coming from our roots, our ancestors. It's coming from the spirit of our people that want freedom. It's coming from Martin King and Malcolm. And we want our freedom, and we want Africa. And where we are talking right now, as we are talking right now, probably 1,000 little African children have died from starvation at the hands of the imperialists, at the hands of the United States, at the hands of the Democrats, the Republicans. Thousands have died today, and at the same time, this country is building weapons to kill millions at a time. Right now as we talk, if we don't stop them, they're going to stop all of us, and we have no choice but to fight them until they are dead. Black power.
Black power.
I said, I want to the
Africans! 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 Thank you, fine young man.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
That was good. That was
Brought a
real
lot
good.
of them, man. Brought a lot of them.
But I'm gonna tell you, hey, listen, I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm sitting up here talking all this kind of stuff. But I'm sitting up here jealous of this young man. I wish I had this head I have.
I gotta thank, that's my pop and my mom, man.
Oh, I need the help, man. I'm sitting up here being jealous. Wishing I was you, brother.
That's a powerful piece. Documentary.
Thank you, African.
There's
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
clips in there.
Thank you.
Much.
But there's one lady that I'll never forget. I don't know her name and never went back to even talk to her. One day I was in Americus, Georgia. They beat people down there for marching. They broke their arms, legs, put them in jail. And Dick Gregory, anyway, Dick Gregory, we slipped into jail and got the children bloody clothes. And Dick Gregory was on the Jack Parr show. And he said, down in Americus, Georgia, they said there's no signs of violence. He took the little children's clothes and held them up bloody.
Wow.
And showed them. And that gave attention to
That
it.
brought
But
the attention.
when we marched down there, they put the SNCC people in jail for insurrection, which is a death charge. And so they was on death row down there.
Wow.
And then I was in there organizing, and they was trying to catch me, but they couldn't catch me. And I went and boycotted all the schools, got the kids out marching to jail, and they couldn't figure out me at all. But I had them marching, and I emptied all the schools out, and they had me, they were looking at me for, I think, about 600 counts of contributor to delinquent, to demand of delinquent, delinquent of a minor, whatever it's called. And they wanted me for insurrection, where they put me on a death row.
Wow.
And I was out there organizing,
Right.
whatever. And one day, we had schools boycotted, and it was about 5, 6 children still going to school. I said, I'm going with them. And I was out there talking to them about boycott. They wanted to do it because they knew what was happening.
Right.
And right when I was talking to them, the sheriff pulled up, and he had his gun in his hand. We got you now. And I said, oh hell no. I took off running, and I ran, and he jumped out the car, and I ran, and ran down behind the building because they had to call for more, so they just couldn't run behind me. I ran down behind the building, ran across the field, and within minutes, the firemen, the white folks, the posses were coming, and they surrounded the place, and I was out in the field, and I was out there running for my life. And then I heard a voice of a woman say, "Hey, come in here." And I went in that house, and they surrounded the place. Police, they just started gathering. And they were surrounded. And I said, "I got to get out here." And there was a man in there. He was an old nasty man, had some old work clothes on. And I used to wear overalls. You know, we wore overalls and snick.
Right.
And that was our dress. And I said, "Hey, change clothes with me." And then the guy, old guy, changed clothes with me. He had the work clothes on. And he changed clothes with me. I put his clothes on and took my glasses. I used to wear eyeglasses. Took my glasses on and put his hat on. And the sheriff and all of them were standing right there. And they had all the houses. They were going from house to house searching. And I came out the house with the hat down, just walking like an old man, and walked right by the police, walked right by them. And then when I walked right by them, the black community had come out. I mean, big numbers was out. And they knew, all of them knew who I was.
Right.
And that all of them was standing out there. And I walked up the street just normally. And when I got about a block away, there was a guy standing in the alley. And he said, "This way." And I went in the alley, and they took me up the street and took me up to the funeral home. And they were in the funeral home, and they had somebody dead there in the casket, and they were having the funeral. And so we went in there, and we took the body out to casket, and the police surrounded the funeral home, and they took the body out to casket, and then I got in the casket, and they put me in the ambulance, and then they came out the funeral. And we rode out right through the police department and rode out of town. And that's how I got away.
Wow.
That was in Americus, Georgia.
That's crazy.
You can look it up look up the Sumter County movement, and you'll see it on the internet. They got a move, they got the history of it down
Right.
there. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Right.
But that wasn't the interview. What I was really doing is handing you the resolution. So I put it in your hand. It's in your hand. It's like a bird. It's in your hand. You can either squeeze it, kill it, let it die, or you can open it and let it fly.
I like that. Let it fly. I like that. We're going to do that.
We depended on it. You want to organize an army that will continue. And you got to educate the masses where they'll be your support network.
Right.
And they'll keep you going. They'll keep giving you fuel to fight with. You know what I'm saying?
They'll fight more if they know what they're fighting for.
They know what it's for.
But the people support you and make it happen.
Voodoo.